Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're talking about some recent Dungeons & Dragons news updates. Welcome to True Strike.
Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the show.
Howdy.
We're talking Dungeons & Dragons again. It's been a couple of weeks.
We're back.
Yeah, since we've talked about Dungeons & Dragons. But there have been a couple of cool little things that have dropped in the news regarding Dungeons & Dragons. None of them negative.
Which is surprising.
So nobody got laid off, which is really good. We don't have any like super negative news. There's been a couple of little things here and there, mostly about like profit margins, which are a little bit lower than anticipated across the board for some of Hasbro IPs, but nothing that we already didn't know or suspect. But this is more along the lines of just fun stuff that we got to talk about. So first up, we have Dungeons & Dragons Lego.
I wish I had like some ones to like pull up as examples. I don't.
So this was, we knew there were minifigs coming. At least I had originally known there were minifigs coming, which, you know, there have been some leaks on those, which I don't think they're confirmed yet. As far as like the little minifig blind bags, if you're not hip to the Lego minifig thing, they do these blind bags that you can go and buy in the store that people absolutely obsess over. Like to the point where like they had to change the packaging. Like, I don't know if you know that. They used to just come in the little plastic ones so you could feel it. They're in cardboard now, so you can't feel what's in it. I think people are still weighing them, though, which is like a whole thing. People weigh them. I mean, it's not just Lego. Just
bringing little scales to the store.
Yeah, they take them to like Target. They'll set up a scale on the shelf, and they'll go through and weigh them all, which people do this for all kinds of stuff. They do it for card games. They do it for like this mini brands. Now people are doing it for Legos.
Great.
But yeah, for the Lego minifigs, we got a leak to show a couple of really cool stuff. So we have like some basic classes. So we have like a, like a Dragonborn. There's a Tiefling that looks really, really cool.
Different species and stuff.
Different species. Classes. There's also Tasha from Tasha's Cauldron in this league.
There's one I'm excited for.
Which is really, really cool. Which one you're excited for? Strahd.
I want to get Lego Strahd.
They did him so dirty, though.
No,
he looks derpy.
He's fine. He's a Lego vampire lord. Leave him alone.
Okay, but if you look at like Tasha and you look at like Our Lady of Pain and like you look at the Tiefling, those models have like character. Strahd just looks like a pale minifig.
He's just a silly little guy.
Little guy.
Let him be.
They could have done a little bit more for him.
But what would he have done different?
He is cool.
More pronounced widow speak.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little bit better printing.
Gray
on,
skin,
like,
sharp
clothes.
teeth. Is kind of all.
Does he have a cloak? I don't remember if he had a cloak.
He's got a goblet for the mini.
Oh, yeah, goblet. Ooh. But yeah, he looks okay. We don't know if these are real though. So they're not confirmed as of time of recording. These are renders, obviously, but when they do their preview stuff, they're renders anyway. So they could still be renders and still be real. But we don't really know if they are. But hopefully they are. I have not collected minifigs ever. I don't really do the Lego thing.
That's about to change.
That's about to change. Yeah, my daughter used to be big into Lego when she was younger, but she got out of it. So we haven't purchased Legos in a very long time. And I think the last thing we purchased was like a dragon, actually. It was they did like a dragon set. And it was pretty high quality as far as Lego dragons are considered. So I'm kind of... interested to see what we're getting next, which is outside of the realm of minifigs and into their actual Dungeons & Dragons set. So this isn't a render. This isn't a, like a guess. This is an actual confirmed set. By the time you hear this, it will be available right now, so you can go and buy it. And this is the...
As long as it's not sold out.
Dungeons & Dragons Red Dragon's Tale. Yes. And is it going to sell out? There's a really good chance, if not even just for collectors' reasons. This is not a cheap set.
No.
So this set is what they would refer to as kind of like their more like elite sets. So it is coming in at 3,745 pieces. So it is not a small set either. This is a very, very large set. It has 6 minifigures in it. So a lot of people will gauge sets based on the amount of minifigures that are included. But the price level is $359.99. That's not cheap.
Yet, less money than some Beatles and Grimm sets.
True. However, I don't know if you could really compare this to a Beatles and Grimm set. Can you? Well, I mean, maybe. I guess you can.
I think that's out of our options to look at, I think that's our best comparison.
Our best comparison.
Because you're getting an adventure.
That's the whole thing here. You're getting an adventure with this, but you can also get for free.
You're getting the stuff. Well, you got me.
So if you go on D&D Beyond, you can get the adventure for free now, as well as if you're doing it right now, a Lego dice set for D&D Beyond, which are super cool. But this is part of this whole thing, is you are getting an adventure that goes with it. And the cool thing is that it is heavily implied that you can play this adventure using this set, which is exactly what I would do.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I haven't bought Lego in a long time. And I want to buy Lego right now. Like, I'm looking at this trying to justify a $360 price tag. I can't.
You can't.
I can't. It's very difficult to justify that because, like I said, I'm not a Lego person.
Ooh.
I think if you are a Lego person, this is probably par for the course.
So, how much was Tiamat when she went live?
Oh, wow.
$400?
Good point. Yeah, Tiamat was like $400.
This is less money than Tiamat.
This is less money than Tiamat and better value, arguably, I say.
Yeah, once you've done the adventure, you build it into something new.
Yeah, you can just build it into something new. Yeah. I think it's a really, really cool set. If you want to go look at it, they have it listed up on Lego.com, and you can kind of see the stuff that comes with it. Like I said, it does come with 6 minifigs in it. One of them looks like a dark elf. I think there's an orc, a regular elf, a dragonborn, a skeleton, and a dwarf.
Ooh.
As far as creatures are considered, there's an owl bear, a gelatinous cube, a displacer beast, and a beholder. The
they
beholder
hit all the ones you want.
is super cool looking. Like, out of everything that's in here, the beholder is like probably my favorite. There's also a mimic. I think I saw, they didn't actually put it with the minifigs, but I saw it inside of one of the structures. And then of course the titular red dragon that flies around the top of it. So this set is kind of like a multi-piece set. It's all like one big centerpiece, but there's like an inn. So obviously you have the inn where the adventure party meets.
Of course.
There's like a tower on the background. There's like a little bridged area. There's like a grassy knoll in the background, a little like half dungeon kind of a setup. So I haven't looked at the adventure. I don't know. Have you looked at the adventure?
Nope.
No. So I don't know if the adventure all takes place in the one little Lego set there, or if you have to use some theater of the Lego imagination here. I'm sure if anybody out here has Lego in their collection, it'd be pretty easy to like build upon this, and you can build out your whole Dwarven Forge-esque adventure in just Legos. Which who hasn't wanted to do that?
Well, that's the thing. How many actually? And if you do this yourselves, please let us know. How many people have already do this though? Because if the majority of Dungeons & Dragons is happening in the mind's eye anyway, and we've got our plastic resin minis and things like that, what's to stop people from just using Legos, especially if it's something they already have a ton of?
Yeah, and I would say it's probably happened quite a bit.
I'm sure this happens, yeah.
Yeah, because there's actually, I know you're not big into wargaming, and I don't know if you know this, but we have our associate from work is heavy into wargaming, plays a lot of 40K, what's the one with the robots?
Robotech. Is that it, or is it Battletech?
Battletech. Yeah, sorry, people. We're not. 40K Battletech and Bolt Action. But there is an entire game built around Legos. So there's an entire rule set that allows you to play wargaming with Lego pieces. Yeah. And it gives you stats, and basically you build out like vehicles based on brick count. And there's like standardized weapons that you use and everything like that. See, there's wargaming that just uses your Legos. Already. So it's not a far stretch to go from that to using your Legos to play Dungeons & Dragons. No,
especially when this is like officially, supported.
Yeah. No, I want this. I already proposed to the entire group that if they were to buy it for me, I would build it and run this game.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I would totally build it and run this game for you guys. So if you guys want to, you want to pitch in, a couple of dollars here and there, we'll crowdfund this together.
Right.
And then it'll just live at my house.
It wouldn't be the first time I helped crowdfund something for Dungeons & Dragons that I never got to see or use. So
I will run this game.
Sure, I've heard that before.
I will run this
heard
game.
This.
Yeah.
I just got to go to your house.
But there might be like I'm not going to make any promises that there isn't going to be like some Lego Friends sets mixed in there as well, because I got to work with what I have, right? So I have
feel like you could just use
my
what it
daughter's
comes
old
with.
Legos. No, we got to expand on it a little bit, right? Yeah, we got to expand on it.
You're moving
at least
past the module
little
already?
Bit. We'll move past the module slightly.
I'm trying to get it to load up.
And I'll have some, Legos Friends stuff in there. We've got some of the Lego
Every
fantasy
time you say Lego
fairy
Friends,
things.
I think you're talking about like the coffee shop.
No,
like,
no.
We're
We're talking about the Lego figures that were released that aren't traditional Lego figures. They're like the tall, like weird, skinny looking ones. But they have some really cool sets, like the dragon ones. So I have multiple dragons. We don't have to have just a red dragon. I've got like a purple
You've
dragon.
got the perfect Dab Shaba.
There's a lavender flower dragon in there that we can throw into this adventure. I can
dragon?
make this work. We don't want those. No, we're doing Legos. We're Legos now, okay?
This is Lego D&D channel now.
D&D, yeah. It's cool. I think, like I said, I haven't bought Legos in a long time, and this kind of makes me want to buy Legos. I don't know if I'm quite there, though, because that price tag is very prohibitive for somebody who's not into Lego, that just wants it to play this one adventure, and then it's going to go on a shelf somewhere where it's not going to be the centerpiece because Lego isn't something that I display.
However, if their blind bags are real, how many blind bags are you getting?
Oh, I'm getting the minifigs. Like, my desk at work yearns for a little adventuring party underneath my monitor.
Yeah.
So that is much more in my realm, because gambling is acceptable, right? So that is much more in my realm of acceptable purchases.
I got it to load up, by the way.
And who says I'm not going to take a scale to Target?
The PDF for the adventure is 20 pages.
Okay.
Cute art in the front.
Oh, that's very cute art.
Yeah. So what was the actual question? Why did I load this up? I already forgot.
Oh, whether or not the adventure takes place in just the inn and the dungeon that are included in the Lego set.
Takes place in an inn, takes place in a meadow, takes place in the dungeon.
Okay. So, yeah. It's going to be a little bit close
Takes
quarters.
place in the tower.
I do wonder how they're
takes
going
place
to
with the dragon
to handle the range thing. If you're going to be doing theater of mind, if they're going to give you like, oh, you're 5 bricks away, that's in reach.
Well, oh, that's interesting, actually, and I bet you I can figure that out if I actually read this. So something I noticed here is each little chapter of the module is actually broken up with location, ending in scene 6, where it's just about the dragon. You're fighting the dragon, which it tells you how it acts, its stat block, and how NPCs act and stuff like that during this moment. But yeah, there's a clear like staging process of you start in the inn and you move on to the meadow, and then you move to the tower, and you move it. So you're actually switching locations.
Okay, so we do need to buy the set. That's what you're getting here.
That's
okay,
what
we have to.
You got to
buy
dump
the set.
in some money. Yeah,
$359.
I don't know how you're going to get all that together, but
no, it said as a group. Remember, as a group.
Oh, I'll play the game. Yeah, you're right. I'll show up with the group. We'll play the game. I'm still impressed you're going to.
The worst part of this, trying me to crowdfund it, is that one of the people that I'm trying to get to crowdfund is my actual child. So I'm going to have to foot in for that part.
Yeah.
Because she has no money and no job. So
no money. That child has had more money than I have in some days. Like, I've seen it happen.
That spoiled. But anyway. So yeah, that's something that is kind of fun, and I think that this is not the last that we're going to see of a Lego Dungeons and Dragons collab. I do believe we're probably going to see more of this because of the fact that they're also doing an actual, like, a game.
I was going to say, you don't think it has to do with how well this sells?
I think that one thing, it's definitely going to have something to do with how well this sells. So the better this does, the more likely they are to keep doing it. But I can't believe that this is the one and only thing that they've done for this. Like, that's on the books, right? Like, do you think that this is really all they designed and then they are not working on anything else other than minifigs in the background?
Would you like me to fill you in on something really quickly?
Oh, hit me.
All right. You do not use Dungeons & Dragons rules unless that's something your table already feels like doing.
Oh,
so how
what do you use
then? To decide how you take turns, you go the Orc Ranger, Elf Wizard, Gnome Fighter, Dwarf Cleric, and then creatures controlled by the Dungeon Master. You can change that order if you decide as a group to do so, but that is the preset order. What can happen on a turn? Each minifigure can only do whatever is limited by your imagination. On each of your turn, a minifigure can do whatever activities the player controlling that minifigure wants to do, subject to the dungeon master's approval. Encourage everyone to be creative. Here's the examples of what you can do on a turn. You can attack. You can drop, grab, or move an item. You can move, which you asked about, which in a move for this is the minifigure can move to any area of the set, so that's the location you're at,
Oh, okay.
that has been built and is reachable. You decide if an area is reachable. That's to the DM. Otherwise, it's just anything you could think of with your imagination. Like if you use the jump spell, if you think it's okay that you jump up the top of a wall, there you go, you did it. So it's a very loose
So it's a more of
interpretation.
a theater of the mind kind of setup then. Okay. Which I'm not like against, obviously. I love, that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, and there's some more rules in here about like how saving throws work in this and what kind of damage you take if you fall a distance and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
no, that's not bad. So yeah, that's kind of cool. But I guess like the option is there to play it as like a full blown if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah, there is like actual regular normal D&D stats assigned for each of the characters, the pre-made characters. So you would be able to play this as your typical game of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons if you so wish.
If that's what you
want
to do.
But if you're just building the blocks and the bricks and you want to just put it together and play a game with your friends, you don't need to know how to play Dungeons & Dragons. You can very, very quickly read literally 2 pages and kind of just adjudicate how it happens.
I think that's smart.
So do I.
Them. Yeah, because that way you're not just like selling this to the people that are playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
You're hitting anybody who might be interested in this that doesn't necessarily want to learn a bunch of rules.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's pretty intelligent of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the Lego news. But like I said, that's kind of neat. The next thing that we had on the docket here was the Deck of Many Morsels.
So this one is something I actually saw in passing this morning, but did not read further.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So some of these recipes, I get the impression, are going to be some recycled things because there have been a couple of D&D cookbooks, right?
Yes. So there's Hero's Feast.
Yep. Hero's Feast was the first one, right?
The other one. Yeah. Hero Feast is the first one. Mm-hmm. I have that one.
Yeah. And I know there was a drinks one too.
Well, there's drinks in Hero's Feast and stuff. And
I think they did an additional release too that was like Dungeons and Flagons that was just drinks or something like that.
Because I know there's like something to the multiverse or something too. And
yeah. So this new thing right here is a 50 recipe card deck, right? So it's an actual deck. Flavors of the Multiverse. That's what it was. Yeah. So this is going to take some recipes from I think a lot of their books. And like the kind of like the best of kind of situation.
That's what I was wondering. So this is just a collection.
It's a collection, but there's also 10 exclusive ones.
Of course there is.
So there's going to be some exclusive ones to this deck. But I don't know. I kind of like this idea a little bit better.
Really?
Yeah, because the way that it reads is that these are going to be decently high quality waterproof cards, right?
Okay.
And it's basically a deck of cards. And what you can do is each card is your full recipe as well as a shopping list for the ingredients that are in it.
Oh, that's neat.
So
you bring it with you.
You can take it with you. Yeah. So if you're like, you have this nice little deck of cards, it's a little bit different than having to make a shopping list from a recipe book or something like that. You can actually just flip out a card, take that card with you, grocery shopping, grab the stuff that you need off of it, bring it home and cook right off of it, and then slide it right back into the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also see this being a kind of a cool like deck box situation that's just sitting on the countertop, right? So you just have like a whole thing of recipes that's in there.
Yeah.
And if you're going shopping anyway, you don't even have to necessarily go through and pick something out. You could just luck of the draw this, right? And just pull a recipe out, take a look at it, and run to the store and buy your ingredients and come back home with it. This one is one that I am more likely to buy.
I'm the total opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I like having the books I can look through and organize better. The idea of being able to bring the cards with me, I like that until I'm actually like in the store, like flipping through my mic! Until I'm flipping through, cards in the middle of the store and I'm flipping from one to the other. I'd rather just take the recipes, anything I'm making, and I throw it into my phone like a notes app or something where I have it all in one spot. There's a novelty to it, of course, which is fun. Like it sounds fun. Like I would probably do that a couple times, but it's not something I'm gonna do more than once or twice. I think.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't sit on my counter.
Well, I know you have fantasy cookbooks, right?
Yep,
So my
we got a
question
few.
is, like, how often have you used any of these fantasy cookbooks?
Probably 3 or 4 times each. Like even the Elder Scrolls one, stuff like that. You find a couple recipes that are actually stuff. Oh, one, and this is the main one. This looks within my skill set. 'Cause that's the big one.
Really?
You see some really, really outlandish, wonderful looking dishes, and you see the ingredients list and what you have to do to make it, and it's just like read the whole bottom of this page, and then you flip to the next page to see the rest of the ingredients. And I'm like, I'm never gonna get half this stuff. Like, I have to go to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's to complete this. It's not happening.
So that was my question: is like, how complex are the recipes that you have currently in your book? So like most of them on average are pretty complex.
Depend. So one thing, I don't have Flavors of the Multiverse, but here is Feast. They sort different stages, like breakfast, stuff like that, or breads, and then in entrees and stuff, of like humans and dwarves and elves stuff. And dwarves are usually like, okay, this is very hard. This is the potatoes,
It's gonna be
sausage,
like
stuff like that. I could do this.
stews.
And then humans are pretty, typical too. But then you get to the elves, and I'm like, I can't make 90% of this. Like, it's just too fancy for me. So it's you can kind of like find the sections I'm gonna skip. There's actually a Barovia themed drink in there that I'm gonna make at some point. Yeah,
Like it.
so
See, this is why I think that the deck of many morsels would actually work for me, right? Because I think that having to like, I have to gamify it. Okay, right. So for me,
this is what does it.
yeah, exactly, having a deck of cards, and
Yeah.
I'm going to isolate the drinks, right? We'll pull those
That's
cards out of the
a big
deck.
thing.
We'll isolate those drinks. We'll just pare it down to entrees or whatever, appetizers, something like that, and then randomly drawing something from there, right? And then once I have that draw, that's what I'm cooking. Whether or not I fail at it, whether or not I'm good at it, whether or not I have the ingredients, I can then mentally make myself commit to that recipe versus having a whole cookbook in front of me, right? And then going through and deciding what to cook.
Right.
And then I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's too hard. Or I don't want to do that because I don't have those ingredients. I don't want to go buy those ingredients.
Yeah.
I think I'm less likely to use a cookbook than I would be to use this. That's why when I saw this, I was kind of like, that's kind of way more interesting to me than a cookbook because this gamifies it for me. And I could totally see myself drawing an actual card and just totally going to Whole Foods with that card. Just walking around with a Dungeons and Dragons card.
Do you think your family would get behind this too, though? Of you being like, what
100%.
What we draw is what we're eating.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Because my daughter, she'll just like anytime that like I'm cooking something new that she's never had, she's like all in, doesn't really care. Like she just wants to try it. Yeah. Right. I'll make some off the wall stuff and she'll eat it. Like I make stuff with spam in it all the time. My wife looks at me like I'm crazy, and Tempe's all like, yeah, let's go. But my wife also, I think she'll get behind this as well, because that means she doesn't have to cook.
Fair enough.
Worst case scenario, she just won't eat it.
Yeah.
She'll just eat like, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Something else.
Or her favorite.
Typical human
the
sandwich.
raw grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Right? So she'll just go to that, which is her classic, which is just bread and cheese.
Yeah.
Not grilled at all.
Raw grilled cheese.
Raw grilled cheese. So I think I can get them behind it because one will eat it and the other one will either eat it or not and won't care because it doesn't have to cook anyway. So I think I can get the whole family behind this.
Do you ever eat your grilled cheese like seared? Like rare? Like you lightly toast the bread and then you put the cheese on it?
Not melted?
Yeah,
like Gordon Ramsay style? No.
It's almost raw. It's rare.
That's horrible.
It's bloody raw.
I hate that. Like I've seen a lot of Gordon Ramsay cooking,
Yeah.
and that's like by far the worst video that I've ever seen him produce was him making this fancy grilled cheese.
Oh, it was the best.
Which had like 6 types of grilled chease or 6 types of cheese on it.
Did you see the part where like
and he didn't grill any of it?
Did you see the part where it switches angles and it's a different sandwich?
No.
I'm gonna have to pull it up for you.
It's a whole different sandwich?
They cut at one point. It's a different sandwich because the first one got ruined.
I have like,
it's so good.
So the raw grilled cheese sandwich my wife eats, I can accept that because it's a name. She's just eating cheese and bread. But don't you dare put a grilled cheese into a griddle and do it dirty like that and try and call it a grilled cheese. Like, you're trying to make a grilled cheese. You're not even getting there. So if there's anything like that in this cookbook, I'm going to be mad.
All he had to do was butter the bread, put some garlic on it, and it's a fancy grilled cheese.
And it's a fancy grilled cheese. Yeah, that's a fancy grilled cheese.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any grilled cheeses in any of these fantasy cookbooks. Do you have any in your like Elder Scrolls cookbook? Or
I guarantee you there's a grilled cheese in one of my books.
It's got to be the human?
We'll look
or
after
is it
the
the elf?
podcast.
I don't know.
Well, we'll look after this for
what
sure.
What species would be the most likely to eat a grilled cheese?
Human.
It's humans, yeah.
Yeah.
It's humans. But then you have like...
Because it wouldn't be the halfling.
The variant human is the one that uses the mayonnaise instead of butter on the bread.
It is... I hate putting this on the internet, but this is my preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's so oily. It's nice.
Oh, it works. It gives it that nice tangy
it's
flair. It's
easier to like spread too.
Yeah. That's definitely going to be in the True Strike cookbook.
Oh, mayonnaise on a grilled cheese.
Yeah, mayonnaise, grilled cheese, as well as scrambled eggs. You never had scrambled eggs?
No, but I would like to have like the halfling. You know, I want the designations of the Richard and Tyler.
Yeah.
Like there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and dessert, and it's Richard and Tyler for all four.
For all of them. Yeah.
How many times do you think you'll see spam in the Richard
Oh,
side?
it's a lot. It's a lot. And if I win this Gen Con pizza thing, you'll see spam all through Gen Con. Right.
He's not lying.
That's right. I entered with a spam pizza.
Yeah. Oh, did you know? I was messaged by someone that they what's the word I'm looking for? They nominated us for the Crit Awards.
What?
Yeah. So
for what?
If there's one for upcoming YouTube channel.
That would be wild.
And there's one for Tabletop Podcast.
That would be wild.
So hey,
I mean, that would be cool. I'm not gonna lie.
If you care,
yeah.
Crit Awards. We can't enter ourselves. That's against the rules.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting.
Hey, if there's other channels you like more, promote them.
Yeah.
Because someone deserves to win this.
Yeah, someone deserves to win it.
So yeah. CritAwards.com.
So yeah, if you're interested in recipes, the Deck of Many Morsels is coming out October 1st. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna pick this one up. It'll be the first fantasy cookbook thing that I own.
Cookbook and its cards.
Yeah. But I'm gonna own this. So the next thing we have is some Player's Handbook news, which was the Player's Handbook was set to come out in September. They announced that they're going to release it 2 full weeks early on D&D Beyond.
1, CritAwards.org. Apologies. 2, Penguin Random House is doing that cookbook thing.
Yeah. Sorry.
How long until that ends?
Ooh,
they cut ties with them,
They cut ties, so I imagine it's probably going to be after the...
There's just so many things in the pipe.
There's probably some books in the pipeline, yeah, and this is one of them. So I imagine it's probably not going to see them disappear until, I would say, fourth quarter of 2024, early 2025.
I'll say when we get these new Player Handbook.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Which is coming early.
Yeah, which is coming early. Yep. So, well, at least the D&D Beyond,
we're
getting, like I said, they're going to release on Beyond. The new Player's Handbook will come out on September 3rd. So that's 2 full weeks
and
before the physical release.
Is that if you pre-order like the physical digital bundle like they've been doing?
I think so, but then I also think that it'll be available just to purchase the digital if you
Interesting.
want it. So if you're going to want to pick it up.
Because that's not how
early.
they've been doing it, I don't think. Oh, God, I'm so lost in the sauce at this point.
But
maybe they have been.
We'll see. It is interesting that they're doing the
me.
digital release early. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Why?
I don't know.
They've been doing it.
I just feel, I don't know. It feels like day and date on physical is a better approach at it rather than like, I don't know if it just feels weird.
Do you not think we're going to be getting physical edition released early at Gen Con anyway?
No, true. Yeah, you're probably right on that one.
I mean, it'd be a month early, which is very early.
Which is very early,
because the Giants book, Big Music Glory Giants, was what, 2 weeks early at Gen Con?
Yeah.
So I'm surprised this isn't actually pushing closer to that date, because if they don't release it early physical at Gen Con, I'm going to be surprised. But a month early is a month early.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird.
Yeah, I could see it both ways. I definitely could. It would make a lot of sense to do it, but then, how many copies?
Right.
Yeah, how many copies do you take for something like that.
Hopefully a bunch, because the less you're already gonna have like people trying to resell this online immediately.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So then, and the less you bring, the more of that you're gonna see.
Yeah, and the higher it's
So
gonna go, and
at
the
that
scalpers are gonna
point-
get crazy.
Right, and then you're in the news for all the wrong reasons again.
Yeah.
Just like last Gen Con. So if you're gonna do it, just do it.
Yeah.
And just everybody who wants it is gonna get it for the most part. You know, within reason. You know, you can only bring so many books.
Yeah. That was my question. So say we do get at Gen Con and we find out while we're driving up or when we get there that they are going to release it.
Yeah.
Are we standing in a line?
Would I?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
You could sleep. I'm going to be in a line.
How,
you can come with me if
what
you
if
want.
we're talking Lorcana level lines here?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
I have to do it for them.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it was the lines
not for me.
were a little bit kooky at last Gen Con for some of this stuff. So,
yeah.
If you were out of the loop, if you didn't hear any of the stuff when we talked about it, Lorcana was probably the worst line situation
we've ever seen in our entire lives
at Gen Con, period, that we've ever seen. And they also had a lot of issues just because people lining up in unofficial lines.
Yeah, day one was a mess.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess. There was a lot online about it. There was people like that were getting trampled at some point. It was not a fun time for a lot of people.
What he's referencing there is people started kind of just making lines, waiting for Gen Con to open up so they could go in and be first to get Lorcana because they knew it was going to be limited. And at some point, Gen Con staff came up and was like, all right, and this will be the line. And everybody was like, that's not where we're standing. And they just started
but
running
this is
over.
our line. Yeah.
And
it was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people didn't like, there were people that were like at the head of the line that were now suddenly at the back of the line.
Yep. Didn't matter. They've been waiting there for literally like 15 hours.
Yeah. And people were waiting for a very long time. Yeah.
Because the conventions area, of that, it doesn't shut down. So you were waiting just straight up in a line waiting for this, and then they just up. So then after that, the next night, and they had it better. You know, it was at least a official line.
They managed it as best as they could. So this like this isn't really, it's not a bad thing about like the Gen Con staff and the way that it was handled. It I mean, it wasn't handled perfectly, but it also was a very imperfect situation. Because you do have people that were just making assumptions about where things were going to be and where the lines were going to be.
Right.
And there comes a point where that doesn't really work for infrastructure and also for rules for the convention center.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the stuff that goes behind the scenes. And I guarantee you that they didn't make the decision to move the lines to hurt the people that had made those lines.
No, of course not.
They made those decisions based on probably requirements for the convention center and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we imagine that if this book is going to be releasing, I think we're going to see some pretty hefty lining up for this because this is a big deal. Now, if it was just like a normal book like Big Bees or something like that releasing, I don't think it would be as crazy. But we're talking about, you know, it's not a new edition because we're not going to call it a new edition. We're going to call it the update to 5th edition.
I guess that's another part where it's weird too, right? Because I'm looking at this as someone who wants this book and wants this edition and wants to play it and and I'm like, oh, I have to buy it for the podcast too, you know, for the people and everything. And it's not only is it fun, but it's also content and it's everything. So I'm like, I have to get this book if it releases early. But how many other people are in that same mindset?
Well,
I guess part of that is just not only scalpers, but if it is a month early, that drives demand alone.
Well, I can tell you this, the data shows that people are anticipating this.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's because if you look at any we've never talked about this until just now, which is if you look at sales data and stuff like that, traditionally when you're looking at projections and maps and everything like that, whenever a new edition of something is coming out, you'll see a dip in sales beforehand, right? Obviously, because people don't want to buy old content when new content is being released.
Right.
And they haven't been pitching this as a new edition, right? But it is, when you break it down, they're being very careful about the way that they word this.
Well, they're very specifically going out of their way to be like, all of this will still work.
Still work, yes.
Yeah.
So they're trying to be careful because they don't want to just straight up call it a new edition. Because one, that is going to hurt your sales of your old product, right? Because if they come out straight out, they're like, this is the new thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to stop buying the old thing. They don't want that. They also, it's, you know, to come out and just say that you're starting something new is also kind of controversial in some aspects and stuff like that. But we are seeing, if you look at their marketing and their sales numbers, we are seeing a dip in their sales. So that indicates that people are anticipating this release and they are not buying content right now that they normally would be buying because they're waiting for this to come out. So I think that there's a little bit of a market indicator there that people are anticipating this. So I think that if it does release, we are probably going to see some lines for this at Gen Con.
Or, hot take.
Oh, I know you're going with this.
Do you think the sales are down because people are just kind of over it post OGL stuff and maybe the content's not quite up to snuff with where they want it and they're, you know, moving on to other systems and the whole line of things.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then they're just like, oh, you know, our sales are down because we have new stuff coming out. This happens.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't think that's their official stance. They haven't said that.
Okay.
That this is just looking at sales information and knowing the way trends work. Yeah, it could go either way, but it is kind of interesting that it's happening right now when we have a new edition coming up so close.
Do we know how the Shrouded Obelisk sold?
I think it's doing okay. It's not like record breaking or anything like that.
Because I know that one had a lot of anticipation for it.
But I think it's doing quite well. I think it's doing well. Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, how many products do they put out that we've been like chomping at the bit for?
Yeah, that's the thing is it's even this release schedule for all of 2024 is for lack of a better term.
There we go.
A little bit lackluster.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not really going gangbusters here. There's some cool stuff in there. Like the Infinite Staircase has some cool.
No, yeah, that's really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. But like kind of overall, there have been some releases that I just kind of have not cared about. Like the Giants stuff, not really huge on my radar. Don't really mind all that much. Not really that big. You can call him Giant, you know. But yeah, not huge. So yeah, I don't know. It could go either way. You know, it could be that it's just not a great landscape for Dungeons and Dragons, or it could be the dip because of the new edition. I'm going to say it's a dip because of the new edition. And I think that if they do release it at Gen Con, there's going to be some hefty lines, which is why I asked if you're going to stand in it.
100%.
Yeah.
In fact, I was talking to someone at work earlier about this. And now that we've experienced said Gen Con and know how quickly things that we want tend to sell out, and then we have time to stumble across all the other things, really, really have to plan that day one.
Yeah.
So if this is one of those things, this might move to number 1 on the list for me.
Okay.
And then just go from there.
Well, I guess we will we'll see if we get any news as we get closer.
We're getting closer.
We're getting a drop. I assume we'll know about it sooner than later. It's not going to be we're going to get there and find out, but we'll see.
No, we definitely have some word about that.
Yeah, we'll have some word about it beforehand.
But we'll know in 120 days.
Yeah. Some other cool stuff. Chris Perkins mentioned in an interview that we're getting a lot of new artwork for these books. It's like mostly new artwork, like throughout all the books. One of the cool little Easter eggs that he threw out, which is the 80s classic characters, the cartoon characters, are being reworked, and their art is going to be in the books, which is really cool. They're all aged up, but it's just kind of cool. I thought that was a really cool nod when they put them in the D&D movie.
Yeah,
I loved that. I thought that was really cool, and I think it's cool that they're just sneaking their artwork into the books. But also their items are getting some stat blocks too,
it's
which
the
is really
50th
cool.
anniversary. Just do it. Little fan service there.
Little fan service, little nods there, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keeping with the Dungeons and Dragons information, we found out that they've been bringing in basically consultations on the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, specifically the Dungeon Master's Guide. And they have released either by straight up, admitting it. They haven't talked about all their consults, but 2 of the names actually came up, which was Matt Mercer and Deborah Ann Wall. So if you don't know who Matt Mercer is, he is obviously the Critical Role figurehead. Everybody knows him nowadays because he's got his hands in all things Dungeons and Dragons over the last couple of years. And Deborah Ann Wall also is a fairly famous celebrity DM. And just general actress. She's in all kinds of stuff. True Blood is probably one of her biggest shows that most people know her from. But also a very prominent dungeon master, as well as a player in a lot of games. She actually has a live game going on like right now that has episodes that come out on a regular basis, as well as Matt. He's always doing something. But they
Never
were
stops.
2 of the names that they dropped as people that were using for consultations on the Dungeon Master's Guide.
I'm surprised they were able to get Matt's opinion. Or did they get him for they book him for a couple hours and they're like, we got to put his name on this release because people know Matt.
Yeah,
he's busy.
He's busy.
And it does seem like he's trying to separate himself, not rudely, but, they've got their own game to kind of promote now.
Yeah, they've got their own game. Well, that makes me wonder timetables, because we don't know when this consultation happened,
Fair
right?
enough. Yeah.
And if you know anything about production cycles, they probably work on the DM's guide for a long time now.
Right.
So I wonder when this actually happened. And also, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the confines of Matt Mercer knowingly consulting about a Dungeon Master's Guide for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Right.
Dearest Matt.
Yeah.
What would you like if we were to change the Dungeon Master Guide? What changes would you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, this could be anything. Yeah, I mean, like, it could be like him, in a meeting with, people and just generally them asking questions or input about things and him not knowing the end goal.
Right.
Or it could just be straight up like they were approached and we're like, hey, we're working on the DM's guide. What do you think would be a good inclusion? Right. And because we know that it's not just like the changing of the rules that we've seen. It's also the changing of the format of the guides. Right. So the way the books are laid out to make them more useful. And that's big for dungeon masters, right? Because the worst thing about having a book and you're trying to run a game is having a book that is literally all over the place.
Yeah.
One of the worst offenders that I've ever seen is Morkborg. That book is beautiful. Like, it is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It's written so well. It's a piece of art. However, it jumps around so much and it gets incredibly confusing if you are distracted by shiny things or pretty writing, or just in general you accidentally want to know something else during a part of creation of a character, and then you have to go backwards 3 pages only to go forwards 10 pages. It's all over the place. So having that kind of input from regular game masters is probably pretty beneficial. And the list is more likely a lot longer than just those 2 names.
There's the weirdness of, we've had a lot of feedback on the player's handbook, right?
Yeah.
Nothing really other than Bastion's on the DM's guide.
Yep.
Would you really consider celebrity DMs regular DMs? Because you're playing a different game almost. I know everyone watches Critical Role and then tries to emulate Critical Role at home, and then people get mad that their DM isn't Matt Mercer, their players aren't Liam O'Brien, and
Why aren't you Deborah Ann Wall?
Yeah, and why aren't you Laura Bailey?
I don't want you to be Matt Mercer. I want you to be Deborah Ann Wall.
That's what I'm saying. So I really hope we get to have a hand in the making of this sooner than later.
So you want more input from the ground level DMs.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't trust the higher level DMs.
I feel like it's different.
Well, we don't know what the other DMs that are consulting are.
Nope.
Are they all celebrities? Who knows? We don't know who's going to be in there.
Right.
I have a list of people that I would respect as dungeon masters, that their opinion I would value, but I don't know if they were asked to, have any input on this. So there's a ton of channels out there that produce really good content that are people that, play a lot of games that have a lot of knowledge that I think could benefit from, input being in on this.
So I can tell you right now, officially, I have not signed any NDAs. I have not been approached by Wizards of the Coast.
He just winked at me.
I have not been approached by Wizards of the Coast. For audio listeners, there was no wink. To participate in playtesting this Dungeon Master's Guide yet.
I would be interested. I want to see the names of the people, right? Because you say,
give me a list.
Yeah, you say, these 2 are high level DMs. I'm curious to see who the other names are on there, because there are a lot of other really high profile dungeon masters, like Joe Manganiello, right? You would think his input would be very, valuable to them, and they probably sought that out before they're falling out, right? You would assume. So maybe he's on that list.
I mean, you could even
what other
all right,
channels like XP to level 3?
That's what I was about to say.
I respect his opinion.
I was about to say you stole it from me. You get Jenny D and Jacob from XP level 3.
Yeah.
And people that do run games often that have very, valuable opinions, but aren't super celebrity DMs that aren't performing for millions on the regular.
Yeah.
Or hundreds of thousands at the minimum. You know what I mean? And at least they're a little more ground level. Even if they're like, YouTube superstars to us, they're not professional voice actors and or actors.
Yeah, or actors. And then you have somebody like Dag, right?
Yeah.
Would be
I would love Dag's opinion on
extremely
here.
valuable on this list because of the fact of what he does specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is dealing more with people that are coming into Dungeons and Dragons. So he is DMing ground level for massive groups.
Dag would be perfect.
Not massive groups in size, but like massive amounts of turnover, right?
Right.
So he's DMing all the time.
Yeah.
So his input on like how a dungeon master's guide should be laid out and what should be included would be worth its weight in gold, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right. So I wonder if he's on this list.
I'd want Dag's opinion more than some of these celebrities.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's, like I say, you look at some like the people that we have specifically that we respect the opinion of.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they've been included on this. And I would hope that once we get this full, consult list, there's some more names on there. If that's what we're dealing with, like if they're not going to ask for the ground level DMs, if they're just going to go off the input of the DMs that they chose.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting though. Those two names don't surprise me. Because they're high level names. I would have expected to see Brandon Lee Mulligan up there as well.
Maybe he didn't do it. He's too busy.
But maybe he didn't do it because he's too busy. I don't know.
Who knows, man? You could tell me Brennan has never opened the DM's guide once in his entire life, and I would believe you. 100%. That man's just been making it. He's been faking it until he makes it. How do you do it?
It comes
life.
from the heart.
Yeah. It's every rule is the right rule if the DM deems it so.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's all it is, man.
The last big news that we want to talk about today was Larian stepping away, or not really stepping away, but making the announcement that Baldur's Gate 3 is the full stop.
They're done
of their Dungeons and Dragons career.
Yeah.
Surprise.
And then some, that they're not doing expansions.
That they're
and DLC
not doing
stuff.
expansions. That Baldur's Gate 4, not their radar.
Yep.
Not even that's not their next project. Which is surprising because man, Baldur's Gate 3 did so much for Dungeons and Dragons. It is a cash cow. It is a spotlight for Dungeons and Dragons in general. And it's interesting that, that's where we get. So Larian is basically saying like, yeah, we're going to continue to do the stuff that was on our roadmap, right? Which is just updates essentially. So they're going to update the game, add a couple of things that, we already essentially know about.
Mm.
But at that point, no expansions, no Baldur's Gate 4. The expansion thing, I'm not surprised by. Because there was a lot of talk about like, oh, we can't wait to get expansions. We want expansions. Everybody wants expansions to Baldur's Gate 3.
Right. They want more.
Playing Baldur's Gate 3 and the scope of it, you realize how difficult it would be to put an expansion on that.
Oh, yeah.
It would be almost impossible with so many outcomes that you can, so many different ways this
everything's
game can
just
go.
tied together already.
Yeah, and how everything is so intermingled, it would be almost impossible to add expansions on after the fact.
They basically already did an expansion in the form of an epilogue.
Yeah.
A playable epilogue, and that takes place after the game.
Yeah,
which is the only reason it doesn't mess with everything else.
Insanity. So I'm not surprised that they wouldn't be doing that. I am surprised that they are not going to be involved in any way, shape, or form with Baldur's Gate 4.
Yeah,
that is a huge surprise.
I think we'd even talked about like you and me both would have preferred a Divinity 3 to be next, but
yeah,
it was a shoe-in. Like, okay, they're gonna do another Baldur's Gate probably. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
like, it was so successful. Wizards is gonna want them to do it. Why wouldn't they want to do it?
Yeah,
and they just don't want to. Their hearts aren't in it.
Yeah, they're not in it, which is great news for me.
Yes,
because Divinity is coming back. I hope.
Or is it? Do we get a whole new IP?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I want more Divinity.
I want more Divinity as well.
I want more Divinity so bad.
And Sven and team, I trust.
Yeah, no.
So if they go a whole different,
If they go a whole
direction,
new
I'm
IP, am I getting my space game?
I don't want a space game.
Give me a space
I
game.
don't want a space game.
Give me
I'm
a
sorry.
space game.
Why?
I want a space game.
What do we need a space game?
I want a space game in the Divinity playset. Divinity in space. We can't do Spelljammer, so they're automatically killing that.
Yeah, that was going to be Baldur's Gate 4, actually.
My Baldur's Gate 4 was going to be Spelljammer. That was my my pie in the sky
they moved
wish.
Baldur's Gate to space.
Yeah, no, we're not getting Spelljammer. So we're going to get Divinity in space now. So I hope.
Sure.
But yeah,
maybe it could happen.
I'm, like I said, not super sad about this. I like Baldur's Gate 3, but I really do. I want to see what Larian can do with their own toys.
Yeah, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'll play whatever they make. I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
It is interesting, and I would really love to know why. Like,
all
the background on this. I've read a lot of articles as far as scuttlebutt, as far as like what people think is happening here.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of knowns, which is that a lot of people that did work with Larian, that were working with Hasbro, were involved in the layoffs. Yeah, so a lot of people that Larian did work with no longer work there anymore. And I don't know if that was enough for Larian to not want to continue to work with Hasbro, right? Because the people that they were working with are no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally see that. Like, you get used to a certain crew and you have like a vibe going and you have a production, and that gets taken away. And they're like, oh, if you want to continue to do this, it's going to be a whole new team, a whole new production with a new studio and everything that you're going to be working side by side with. And then maybe they didn't want to do that.
Right.
We don't really know. There's a lot of rumor and speculation, but we don't know 100% why the break happened. I think it's good for Larian, but I don't think it's good for Hasbro.
Oh, no, it's not good for them. I mean, who are they going to find to make a Baldur's Gate 4 that's going to do it half as well as Larian?
Who wants to take that on? Like, what studio out there right now is willing to just step up and take Baldur's Gate 4?
No, you leave it. You leave it. You're done. It's a trilogy.
They're gonna do a Baldur's Gate 4. They're gonna want to do this because the people sitting around the big table want a Baldur's Gate 4 because the money talks, right?
People don't CRPG like Larian.
They're gonna want it. But the problem is what developer are they gonna force to do this? Because if I was a dev, I wouldn't want to touch Baldur's Gate with a 10-foot pole.
What other Baldur's Gate level Dungeons and Dragons video games have you played?
That's what I mean.
Just across the board.
This is huge shoes to fill. And it would be terrifying for any developer right now to take that on, I think. Because that is a hard follow-up.
It's got to be Valve.
Ew. No.
Look, they don't make 3s. No one ever said anything about 4s.
Yeah, I don't know what developer it could be. All right, way forward. I know Shantae is pinnacle. It's the best. But what if you did Baldur's Gate 4?
I don't think we're getting it.
No. We're going to get it. It's not going to be good, though. There's no way. I had faith that Baldur's Gate 4 was going to be great when Larian was involved, when we had assumed Larian was going to be involved. Now that Larian's out of the picture, I think Baldur's Gate 4 is going to fall flat because I don't know that any company out there is going to be able to fill it the same way that Larian did it.
The only way I think we ever get a BG4 is that 10 years down the road, Larian decides to do BG4.
Or Larian gets roped back in within the next year.
I don't think they're roped back in for the next game. 100. Oh, how long has it been since Baldur's Gate 2?
Yeah, true. They got a lot of time. They got a lot of time to decide whether or not they're going to do 4, but I know they're going to because, like I said, money talks. And it made a lot of money. It did really, really well, and it made a huge splash in the video game world and a lot of headway for Dungeons and Dragons. So there's no way Hasbro is going to ignore the IP. And I imagine, I will say that we are going to get a Baldur's Gate 4 is in development by 2025.
Wow. Okay.
Official.
All right. Well, it's recorded.
Yeah.
So.
I think we're gonna get
Stamp
that it's in development, that they're shopping for a studio to start working on this.
Kojima Productions.
That's gonna be a weird game.
It's just first person of the mind, the tadpole being placed in your head.
But yeah, weird news. Like I said, on one hand, kind of sad because, Baldur's Gate 3 is so good, we're not going to see 4 in the same way. But also kind of happy because I like Larian Studios, and now that they're going to get back into their own toy box, we're going to see something really cool for them.
Oh, yeah. Anything they make is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
What celebrity do you think Kojima gets to, for this Dungeons & Dragons IP? Do you play as Chris Pine?
Oh, my God. Who could it possibly be? I don't know. We'd have to look at see who he's been hanging out with.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
You're Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves. What if you got like Taylor Swift?
Not happening.
Come on.
No. No, he's in a film.
Epic level bard.
It's not happening. Taylor's not doing this.
Epic level bard right there. We'll see.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that's our latest and greatest for Dungeons and Dragons news wrap up.
Yeah, that's everything's been happening in the last couple of weeks. I'm sure there'll be more. Sorry, some of these you've probably already heard about over the last week or two. In our recording schedule, we kind of just have to lump all these together and just get them all out to you like this. But there's stuff we did want to talk about nonetheless.
Yeah.
So
more stuff happened, but this was the interesting stuff.
The best part is, by the time we put this up, how much breaking news will happen between now and then.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. But for now, I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been True Strike. Bye. Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on X, Threads, or Instagram. New episodes released every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike.